Welcome to episode 2 of WrestleMania Debates. We have WrestleMania 8. We're going to go to WrestleMania 8. At this point, WrestleMania has become a big spectacle, with WrestleMania 3 blowing the roof out the house, being one of the highest rated WrestleManias at the time. Then years to come, more have beaten it. But one of the WrestleManias that has not been a successful draw was WrestleMania 8, which was originally supposed to take place in Los Angeles, California, and ended up switching to Indianapolis. Uh, that is insane that this could have taken place in Los Angeles. Considering the original plans for the show, Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair were supposed to be in the main event, believe it or not. But was it really a big draw? Part of the reason why they last second changed it was because it wasn't doing such a big draw. Uh, Ric Flair was being a heel, a cocky heel, and Hulk Hogan was the top babyface. Um, some other things that were going on at the time. Macho Man just came back from retirement. The Macho Man Randy Savage. Psycho Sid was turning into one of the most vicious villains at the time. Undertaker, after losing the belt, has kind of gone directionless, but he was still this spectacle of a monster. There was a lot of stuff going on at around the time of WrestleMania 8, and showing us, the future of the WWF slash WWE. For starters, this was the first show that gave us Shawn Michaels in a singles match. This was Shawn Michaels' first singles match. He just ditched Marty Jannetty for the Rockers. There was definitely a lot of changes going on with WrestleMania 8, showing us the generation of new stars. And I think it was time to give us new stars. It was time for a brand new generation. And what better way than to show us the biggest face of WCW coming in, debuting not that long ago, entering the Royal Rumble at number 3 when the WWF Championship was on the line, Ric Flair becoming the Iron Man and winning the whole damn thing, with the final four being him, Savage, Sid, Hogan. That itself, like, maybe Sid wasn't a big name. He does eventually become a big name in WCW, but yeah, we could all agree that Sid is pretty garbage. He is only half the man that I am, and got half the brain that he do. So, yeah. Psycho Sid overall was just pretty lame. I never understood. I mean, I get the hype. He was a big, muscular dude. But if you were going to build him up as a new monster, why did you have him get buried by Hulk Hogan in this year's WrestleMania, let alone in the main event? So they clearly had high hopes by putting this in the main event. But clearly they had no direction for Ric Flair. And I think that was one of the biggest problems, that Ric Flair was too likable to be a heel. I mean, he was a great heel, but they never saw uh, Ric Flair as the face of the company, which I think is sad. Macho Man Randy Savage was the next candidate to be the second face of the WWF, one of the most likable dudes, but he was feuding with Jake the Snake Roberts, and I really thought we were gonna culminate this feud at WrestleMania. That would have been the perfect place to culminate it. Macho Man, Jake the Snake, no holds barred. That would have been awesome. But instead they just dropped it and did Macho Man versus Ric Flair. Keep in mind, the previous year, freaking Macho Man retired after losing a career-threatening match against the Ultimate Warrior, who then we all know where that went. Which is probably why they brought Macho Man out of retirement, because they did not want Macho Man's last match to be a guy that the company hated at the time. Keep in mind, the Ultimate Warrior does come back later on this show. But this show, I gotta say, we could have gotten Macho Man. I mean, We could have gotten Ric Flair, the WWF champion, defending it against Hulk Hogan. It would have been one of the most spectacle matches at the time, but why didn't they do it? Well, the buy rates were not doing so well. I heard the first time they had a match, as just to test out whether or not people would buy the match, it was actually doing pretty good. Like, but it ended in a count out loss, showing that Ric Flair was a shitty heel and a coward heel nonetheless. Hulk Hogan needed to constantly look strong. If they were gonna do these in house shows, why don't they show Ric Flair get the upper hand occasionally from time to time, and then people are like, "Oh shoot! If Ric Flair is out working Hulk Hogan, will he be able to beat him at WrestleMania? Find out." And I remember at the time they were doing time limit draws, which is similar to what New Japan is doing right now. Why don't they do stuff like that where like Hulk Hogan cannot beat Ric Flair? He just cannot do it. And then it's like, oh shoot, what if they go to um, WrestleMania and they do a no time limit? The pay per view will continue until the match is settled, and that gets people going. Oh shoot, I gotta see where this goes. No time limit. This is a WrestleMania first. This is a WWF first. That's the story that should have gone into it. But clearly, they were seeing that. They were clearly seeing that they wanted Hulk Hogan to win. However, oh boy, around this time, the infamous steroid scandal happened, where Hulk Hogan got busted and he had to take some time off. At the same time, Ric Flair, who is the heel, and at the time there was no such thing as the heel standing up high, which I consider to be BS. Over the years, we've tried to have the heel go over, but they just managed to mess it up. WrestleMania 2000, WrestleMania 27, the heels go over, but who stands tall? The Rock. So it was rare to see. Um, it was rare to see, the heels standing tall at the end of a WrestleMania, and this should have been the night that it was the first time they do it, because the steroid scandal just happened. People were starting to turn on Hulk Hogan, and Ric Flair was working the upper hand on him. And people would have been excited to do that, to see that, what was going to happen. Because up to this point, Hulk Hogan has been at the top. From WrestleMania to WrestleMania to WrestleMania to WrestleMania, it's just been this guy at the top. The most we've had seen Hulk Hogan lose was against the Ultimate Warrior at WrestleMania 6, which was personally one of my favorite main events of WrestleMania history. If you guys saw my video of my perfect WrestleMania card, that was my main event. Um, so what should have happened to get people excited for this? First of all, like I said, you should have gotten Ric Flair having the upper hand. What else should have happened? Because Hulk Hogan at this time was getting really hated, why didn't we do a double turn? Not necessarily turn Hulk Hogan heel, but slowly start turning Ric Flair as a babyface. Because I think Ric Flair works as a babyface just as well as a heel. Yes, he's better as a heel, but as a babyface, it will be like, oh shoot, we did not expect that. And this is a true showing of a brand new generation. Instead, we rely on the past with Ultimate Warrior coming back to save Sid, and with the biggest botch finish in WrestleMania history, where Papa Shango was supposed to attack Hogan, and Hulk Hogan was supposed to win by disqualification of all things. Thankfully, that one of the greatest botches to happen, because I would have hated a WrestleMania to end in a DQ. That is one thing for sure. But the Macho Man should have. First of all, the Macho Man should have never come out of retirement until this night. Imagine for years, like, Macho Man has just been desperate to get his hands on Jake, but he can't because they do not let him. And this will debut the unsanctioned stipulation. Macho Man and Jake the Snake Roberts. That is a real double main event. Ric Flair, a guy who's been getting the upper hand on Hulk Hogan from time to time. Macho Man is returning for the first time in months. At this time, creative was mishmash. They did focus on building new stars such as Bret Hart and Shawn Michaels, but we could have gotten a better build for your double main event. Clearly, we didn't know that Ric Flair was gonna sign um, to the WWF this soon, but why didn't they do that? Why didn't they try to make Ric Flair the babyface? What was wrong? And if you wanted to turn him heel again, turn him heel leading into the summer, and then that's when Macho Man beats him. Ric Flair versus Macho Man at SummerSlam, and if you don't want to end it yet, they could end in a draw, and then you do or in a time limit draw, and then you do Brett and Davey Boy in the main event, just like in real life. We could have gotten so much out of it, but we didn't. First and foremost, the fact that they were scared for Hulk Hogan whether or not he was gonna stick around, especially after the steroids scandal. And to top it off, you could tell that WWF was scared that Hogan was going to go to WCW, which he does anyways. And Ric Flair left too. Now, to be fair, Ric Flair, they actually never had any bad feelings about Ric Flair, but you could clearly tell that Ric Flair was a WCW guy. But this is ridiculous. I've just realized that Ric Flair has never main evented a WrestleMania, and I think that is bar none super, super sad because look at the guys who have main evented a WrestleMania. The Big Show, The Miz, Psycho Sid twice. Twice. And you mean to tell me that The Miz is a better headliner than Ric Flair? Ric Flair should have main evented this year. And then, like I said, they should have turned him babyface following the match. And maybe you could have a Hulk Hogan hold Ric Flair's arm like a passing of the torch, similar to what he did with The Rock at WrestleMania 18 and similar to what The Rock did to John Cena at WrestleMania 29. But that last one sucked. All I got to say is, yeah, I think they should have gone with Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan at the main event. Yes, it wasn't selling, but that's their fault. They should have had a better story leading into it, with whether or not the steroid scandals didn't work, whether or not the tickets were selling. It would suck to see LA with an empty crowd, but like I said, why didn't they just book this better? It was just so focused on Hulk Hogan's politics and so focused on not doing anything great. Like, come on. This is a big letdown. It's super sad for Ric Flair. Keep in mind, Ric Flair didn't need the WrestleMania main event, but we did. We truly could have had seen WrestleMania 8 try to show a brand new generation. We have to wait years later for that. Because this night, we had uh Undertaker going 2-0, Shawn Michaels finally having a singles run, Roddy Piper putting Bret Hart in easily one of the best matches on the show. And don't get me wrong, I love Macho Man and Ric Flair, but how come that wasn't the main event? They were so focused on Hulk Hogan, who just screwed you over, just to have that epic moment with the Ultimate Warrior because they were so desperate to bring everything back. And it just kind of slipped into a cluster, like a cluster. I like WrestleMania 8. I can still watch it to this day, but you could clearly tell that this WrestleMania needed a better card in the long run. It is me, the ALE Double X Prince. This is my debate. Hogan and Ric Flair could have been a draw, given the right story, the right direction, and the right feel to WrestleMania 8. It's me, the ALE Double X Prince. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. Episode 3, we'll be going back to one of the worst WrestleManias of all time, WrestleMania 9, and debate whether or not the Macho Man Randy Savage really needed a match to make a show great. Until then, I'm out.